Hi there, and welcome to another spectacular presentation by me. Okay, this one's about how to write an ERA. Not just a standard ERA, but a fantastic, a great one, an exceptional one. Now, with ERAs, there's a few rules that you've got to follow, and if you can learn those rules early, you should be able to produce some really fantastic work. Now, there's some overall rules. The first one is not to write, to only write in past tense. Okay, and that's for everything. The whole ERA should be written in past tense. The next one is about the style of writing. It should be formal and impersonal language that you're using. Okay, so I don't want you using any sort of slang. I don't want you talking in first person or third person, mentioning I or we or us or you. Okay. Also, another really important point that students often make mistakes with is referring to the researcher and the participant. Really important that you do that, and that will help you not use the I so much. Also, the experiment, not my experiment, the experiment. Okay. The other overall rule that sometimes students make mistakes with is that with an ERA is divided into sections, and those sections have very clear headings or subheadings. So make sure you follow that. The title is simply a small line up the top of your ERA that is really clearly saying what was your experiment about. Okay, it just needs to be one sentence. Okay, an abstract. Now for the Year 11s, you probably won't be doing an abstract on your first few ERAs, but it's something that definitely come Year 12 that we'll be looking at including abstracts. An abstract is simply a summary. Okay? Sometimes people try to include too much information in it. Really specific information is needed. So you talk about your aim, your hypothesis, you talk about how your IV was manipulated and how your DV was measured. Here you also talk about the conditions, so the experimental group and control group that was used in your experiment. You write the results. So what I mean by that is you could just say experimental group 1 received or recorded a mean score of 6.8. That's all you need to write. You don't need to explain it. And then you say whether or not your hypothesis was supported and if the study can be generalised. We'll go through that in more detail as we go through the ERA. The next section is your introduction. Now your introduction and your discussion, they're your two biggest sections. You're giving the most information to your reader in your introduction and your discussion. So your introduction is providing overall information about the theories that you are investigating. Okay? With that, you need to start off very broadly and talk about the broad theory of where your investigation fits in. So, for example, at the moment in Year 11, we are doing visual perception and we're looking at perceptual set. So broad topic would be visual perception, okay, and talking about that. Then you'd start talking about perceptual set and you'd be defining those terms. And then when we start to get more specific, what I'm talking about in relation to the rat bag investigation, which talks about past experience and context. So you'd be defining those when you're talking about specific notions in relation to your experiment. You then want to talk about past research, and any research that you want to mention, make sure that you use your in-text referencing there, which we explain in another video. Okay? When you mention your past research, please talk about how they conducted, so their procedure, their results, and their conclusion or generalisation. Then the last part of your introduction, the final part, really important. You want to talk about your aim of your study. You want to talk about the operational hypothesis, mention that, the DV and the IV in the experiment. Now, they should all be included in sentence format. Okay, so you work it into a paragraph, and you could just say something like, the aim of this experiment was to investigate blah, 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 blah. Okay? I will continue on with the other parts of the ERA in the next film.